Number 1. I was 7 years old, and my mother was dating a man with a daughter who was about 15. Her name was Christy. I grew up in a moderately isolated area in the south. My mother's house is on about 90 acres, most of it being heavily wooded. For the most part, it was quiet. The type of place most people didn't lock their doors, and everyone knows each other. It was quiet until one sequence of events shook my community to its core. There was a man, just 2 streets over from mine, who murdered his girlfriend's entire family, including her, in their home over a dinner about 2 weeks before this event took place. It was also learned later that he had also murdered his mother and father in their home, as they were found after his girlfriend's family was. He hadn't been caught, and the local police were working with police in Tennessee, as there had been reportings of people sighting him there. My mother had gotten a security system installed, just to ensure our home was properly secured. We had alarms on every window and door in our house. On this Saturday, my mother got a call into work, as she was an apartment manager, and there was an emergency that she needed to attend to. Her boyfriend had gone to work early that morning. My mother was very, very nervous about leaving, and due to the nature of the emergency, she thought it was best that Christy and I stay home where we were safe. Safe, so she thought. She reluctantly left and let us know that her cell phone was always going to be on her if we needed her. Christy and I promptly set the alarm and made sure all the doors were locked. My mother had been gone about an hour, and we were deep into a movie on Disney and pizza. Suddenly, the alarm started blaring. Christy and I jumped up to see what was going on. On the way to the alarm, you have to pass a very large sliding glass door. What we saw there left us frozen. There was a man prying our door open with a crowbar. He saw us, made eye contact, and quickly ran off into the woods behind my mother's house. I will never forget what he looked like, or the sinister look he had in his eyes. We called the police, and then we called my mother, who had already been alerted by the alarm company. My mother actually arrived before the police did due to how isolated we really are. When we described the man to the police, they immediately knew that it was the man they were looking for. Of course, there was a massive investigation that day of the property and woods surrounding us. In the woods, they found cigarette butts, lots of canned food, soda bottles, and a makeshift tent made from a trap. The man had been living behind us the entire time, and even stealing food from our trash. When he was arrested, which was a few hours after the incident, he had admitted to watching our family to learn our habits, knowing that he could take advantage of the house when no one was there, even though, as an adult, this event still follows me. Just goes to show you really never know who is watching you. Anyways, murderer living in my backyard. Let's not meet again. Number 2. I was in middle school, so I was 12 to 14 years old. I was walking home from school in Brooklyn, New York, when this blonde man in a red pickup truck pulls over and calls over to me through the passenger window. I stopped walking and stared at him. I don't recall what he said initially, but he had asked me if he could come to my house because he needed to use the bathroom. I pointed him in the direction of a restaurant 2 blocks ahead that he can go to, but he just ignored me. And he asked again and again. I kept telling him that the restaurant was just right there. But then he asked me if I can come over to him and help shield him while he pees. Luckily, I was walking on a large sidewalk that consisted of a huge apartment condo. He was parked right up to the sidewalk. If he wanted to kidnap me in broad daylight, he would have to walk more than 10 feet to where I was standing. Even to my adolescent mind, that was the most preposterous thing I've ever heard. So I look at him and I say, no. He then gives up and drives away. I remember being shaken up and scared, watching his truck fly down the street. Even though I knew he was gone, and it probably didn't make much of a difference, I walked down the driveway 1 block away from my actual house just to throw him off. Anyways, creepy guy in the red pickup truck, let's not meet again. Number 3. My husband had left for 2 weeks of training he does every year for the military. So it's just me, my daughter, and our pit bull mix, Mavis. I had just finished my classes for the week and had the weekend free. So I decided to go to my mother's house until Sunday. So I packed up my stuff and my daughter's stuff, and we went for the weekend. We returned home Sunday to find someone had broken into our home. There were muddy footprints and windows open everywhere, but nothing was missing. I was going to call the police, but my sister's husband explained that the cops wouldn't do anything. The next day, my mom came and picked up my kids, so I didn't really need to worry about her while studying. They left, and I went to watch the class upstairs. I put my headphones on so I can hear my instructor teach the class, but swear I kept hearing stuff downstairs. I even texted my mom and told her I heard stuff downstairs and it was creeping me out. But she assured me it was probably just Mavis because everything was locked up tight and no one can get in. I agreed, thinking I was probably just freaking myself out. I continued listening to my instructor teach, and I swear I heard footsteps on the stairs. So I hurry up and take my headset off and listen. I didn't hear anything. I walked down the stairs and I didn't see anything either, so I went back to class. At 10 p.m. my class was over, and my mom decided just to keep my daughter for the night. I was doing my homework upstairs with Mavis, and all of a sudden she started barking and growling and ran downstairs. Now, Mavis usually barks and growls at the slightest noise outside, so I didn't think much of it, but decided I should check it out anyways. Again, nothing out of the ordinary, so I went back upstairs. I was finally done with my homework, and it's about midnight, so I went downstairs and called my mom like I do every night. Once we were done talking, I peeked my head into my daughter's room. I don't know why I did this, because my daughter was at my mom's for the night. Just out of habit, I guess. I should have mentioned earlier that when you look in my daughter's room, her bed is on the far wall, a good ways away from the door, so you can clearly see under the bed. So I opened the door, and to my horror, a man was under her bed. I just froze and did not move, just stood there in shock. After what felt like minutes, I slowly shut the door and whispered to the phone to my mom that there's a man in my house under my daughter's bed. My mom was terrified, and she screamed at me to go outside and stay on the phone with her. She had my brother call the police, so I ran outside with Mavis and waited for the police to arrive. About 3 minutes, they came and searched my house and found no one. What scares me even more is since that we have bought this house, my daughter has been terrified and always told my mom she wanted to stay with her because it wasn't safe at mommy's house. I didn't think too much of it because I thought maybe it's just a new place and you know how kids are with new places. After this whole thing happened, I stayed with my mom until my husband came home. We decided to ask our daughter about the house. What she told me absolutely terrified me. She said that at night, while her dad and I slept, monsters came to her window and tried to get in. She says it's a boy monster and a girl. The next day we installed alarms in all the windows and security lights. Anyways, creepy guy hiding under my daughter's bed. Let's not meet again. Number 4. So I was about to close up shop when this guy approached me. He looked like a pretty normal guy, khakis and all. He gave me an envelope claiming that there were free art festival tickets inside. The tickets had some type of white powder on it, but we just assumed it was cocaine or something, because that was normal in my neighborhood. So my coworker grabbed them and went back to closing up the shop. A couple of minutes later, we found him in his car. He said that he couldn't breathe properly and he felt like he was burning up from the inside. Luckily, he was still conscious, so we took him to the hospital, which wasn't that far. Practically everyone that came into contact with him had the same symptoms that he had. They couldn't breathe properly and they felt like they were burning up. They had to get a whole team of biohazard guys to come and decontaminate us. Everyone ended up okay in the end, but creepy guy that gave us free tickets, let's not meet again. Number 5. One day in 4th grade, I got locked out of my homeroom. The reason the door was locked is because my school doors have an automatic locking system. If you were ever to be late to a classroom, you can't enter unless you have a late pass. Right when I was about to knock on the door to get in, I heard a voice call to me. "Hey, come over here." At first I thought it was someone talking to somebody else, but then I looked behind me and there was a man crossing the street. "Don't be afraid. I haven't seen a little boy in so long." This started to get a little creepy, so I knocked on the homeroom trying to get into the class. I heard the man running faster and faster towards my direction. It felt like forever while the teacher was walking towards the door. I told the teacher what happened and he ended up reporting the guy to the police. I'm not sure if they ever caught him, but if you're still out there, old man, let's not meet again. Alright guys, there you go. Those are 5 Let's Not Meet Again stories. You guys can expect another video in a couple of days. Anyways, if you're new to my channel, which you probably are because my channel's new, click subscribe, man. I'll see you guys in a later video.